Hi, y'all. I'm Allison. Today we're going to talk YA fantasy. I've got 4 books to discuss with y'all. This will be spoiler free. If for some reason I do need to divulge some extra info about a plot to make a point, then I will put a big old tag up on the screen saying spoiler and also mark it down in the chapters below so you can be sure and skip that. I don't want to ruin anyone's reading experience. Let's go ahead and get into our first book, which is going to be Forestborn by Elayne Audrey Becker. This is a debut novel and I loved it. This was purchased for me by my daughter for Christmas. It's probably not one that I would have picked up off the shelf, and I'm so glad she got it for me. It was incredible. The world building and the magical system in this book is stellar. The characters are very deep and nuanced. Their relationships are ever changing. So we have Rora and her brother Halos. They are shapeshifters, and there is a whole bunch of strife in this kingdom. Rora, our main one, works for the king as a spy, and her shape-shifting abilities come in very handy for that. But things are not good in this kingdom. There is a great rift between the normal population and those with magical abilities. And I think there's like 4 magical types. So this book definitely hits on prejudices, but not of race, religion, sexual preferences, anything like that. They're all inclusive with that. It's when it comes to having magic and not. And Rora is one of the worst that she could be, being a shapeshifter, because the non-magical people don't trust them. So she lives in hiding, and there's a magical illness that is spreading across the land, and it's affecting the people. It's called the Sway, and the land is general. And this is all at the very beginning of the book, so I'm not giving anything away. Rora works for the king, or she's employed by the king, and her best friend, really the only friend that she has, is the younger prince. And it turns out that he is inflicted by this magical illness. So she is sent on a quest across the land into the dark forest, I believe it's called, to see if she can find the cure for the young prince. The older prince, who she doesn't get along with, it goes along, as does her brother, who has been living in the village. So this is basically, they're on a quest, on a journey, going through this magical land. The environment is magical as well, so the landscape is forever changing. The world building in this is incredible. The characters are so deep and fleshed out. I highly recommend this book. I absolutely loved it. Nature is definitely another character. The way things unravel and are revealed to you are just expertly done. I am really impressed by this author. This is her debut, and I cannot wait for part 2. This is a planned duology, and the next one, Wildbound, will be out August 30th, and I will be pre-ordering that puppy because I want to know what happens. There's just, yeah. If there's a book that you grab this month, make sure it's Forestborn, especially if you like epic fantasy and got orphans and all the other things that I had on the tags. 5-star read. Highly, highly, highly recommend. And I am really looking forward to rereading it. I suspect I'll give it even more out of it on the second go round once I'm, now being familiar with the magical system and the environment. So, yeah, grab it. All right, we've got another Owl Crate book. This was in December 2021's box. Isn't that cover gorgeous? This one has a printed hard case, which I think is okay. You know, showing the water, the ocean. And we have another stunning reversible dust jacket. Isn't that just gorgeous? I love that. For comparison, this is the regular, and this is the Owl Crate version. Oh, and I forgot to show y'all, it also has the gilded gold edges. I absolutely loved this book. We've got Simi, and she is a Mama Wada. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, which is mermaid. This centers around African culture, myths, and religions set in like the 1400s, and it was so incredible. I really need to learn more about that era in that region, but it was just fascinating. And not only do you get all the history and the culture, but the fantastical elements, it's such rich storytelling. I highly recommend this one. This was a 5. We had such incredible world building. Despite my ignorance of this region, culture, area, I felt completely transported. No problem following along, picturing it at all. Natasha Bowen did an incredible job. It's so beautifully written. And I love the characters. They were nuanced. It had twists and turns that I didn't expect. There's some tragedies and some highlights. And there's one character, Issa. He's a little fairy. He was just enchanting. I loved him. Simi is a Mama Wata, which is a mermaid. And their purpose was to save victims, or save the souls of victims that drowned at sea. And these victims particularly, since this is set in the 1400s, this is the early victims of the African slave trade. So you get some of the history on that, and it can be a little hard-hitting at times. It doesn't necessarily focus on that, so I don't know that necessarily trigger warnings are necessary, but it's quite sad and upsetting. But Simi, instead of releasing the soul to the afterlife so they can find peace, saves this person instead, and now she has to face the consequences of it because she allowed humans to see her in her true form as a mermaid, and they're never supposed to do that, and they're not supposed to interfere. They're just supposed to help the victims find eternal peace and help them move on to the afterlife. So as a result of her saving one, she now is going to have to go before the Supreme Creator and ask for atonement. She's going to have to, face the consequences of what she's done. And this system is, there's like, they're Orissas, which are the gods. That's what this type of god is called, I believe. And so she basically has one that she reports to. There's very few Mimiwadas available. I think there's like 7 or not available, but exist. And her actions could have long-lasting repercussions that could bring down their whole system. She has put all of the other mermaids at risk. So she has to go on a journey to put things right with the help of the boy that she saved. It is so good. And I looked, Soul of the Deep will be coming out September 27th, which is part 2. And I am so excited for it. I highly recommend this book. 5-star. It's hopeful and heartbreaking and adventurous. You've got the mythology. You've got some great side characters. The world building, it's all beautifully done. So, yes, Natasha Bowen hit it out of the park as well. All right, let's move on. Okay, next one is Gallant. This was not part of a box, but I did order this from Owl Crate. Again, we've got the black and a foiled hardcover, which is just gorgeous. There must always be a prior at the gate and foil on the spine. Inside the jacket is fine. It is normal. Also, this one has illustrations throughout the book, which are key to the storyline. V.E. Schwab, I don't think is for me, which is surprising how much I love the Cassidy Blake series. So I guess I need to stick with her middle grade. I keep trying. I'm going to give one more try, Darker Shade of Magic, because I believe that one's an adult. This is YA. And I gave this one a 3. This was beautifully written, but it didn't grab me. I didn't care about the characters, and I should. Our main character is an orphan, and one day she gets a letter saying what every orphan dreams of, that her family has been searching for her and they want her to come be with them. So she is sent to this old mansion. Things aren't quite what she expected. This is part epistolary. She has her mother's journal that all she knows of her life before her parents. And it's a atmospheric, gothic vibe book. I had a real hard time with these pages. So you do have a dual POV of sorts. There's a entity out there that you don't really know. And you will get these at the beginning of every chapter, I think. And they're quite eerie. They were beautifully written. But the font is so small and thin that my old eyes, I really struggled to read that, which that could have been fixed just by making the font a little bolder or something. So that, of course, affected my reading experience. I can see why they did it. It's a beautiful choice, but I think it hindered the story. The world building on this was good. The premise was good. I just never cared. It almost felt like this was more about the writing than the actual story and the characters. I just never, I didn't care about any of them. I never bonded with any of them. Our main character finds herself in some real danger. And I was like, this has like Secret Garden vibes to it. I haven't read that one yet, but I'm familiar with it, which, I was intrigued by the mystery surrounding Gallant, surrounding the house. But it was bland. I don't know if they were more caught up in the artistic side of it with the illustrations and the drawings and, the journal, and with Olivia trying to figure out her family's secret. I was like, okay. It kind of felt like a movie that you could walk out in the middle of and come back and not miss anything. There we go. That it was just beautifully shot, but the story just wasn't there. And that's how it felt like. I don't even have much to say about it. It's just, so it's a 3. I don't know. I mean, maybe this is something that I would appreciate again on a reread. I was going in for the mystery and, there's some magic to it. Oh, that was part of it. She's never given any reasons for anything. It's just, everybody says no. And this was definitely, okay, yeah, now I remember. This was definitely one where a little bit of communication would have gone a long way. If anybody had taken like 5 minutes to explain why you can't do this or that, or what this or that is, it would have alleviated the need for a lot that was in here. And when I come across a story where that's the case, where it's just things are being held back for no reason other than to make it difficult for the main character, I don't enjoy those. There's one thing as opposed to, unraveling a past or figuring out what has happened without all the cards being laid out on the table. You know, kind of the slow reveal. I love those. But when you only have a very small cast of characters, 4 in the main house where she lives, and where 3 of those people know vital information that she'd been told about, would have alleviated a lot of the issues and the conflicts. Why they don't just tell her, I don't know. Especially when safety is concerned. That kind of stuff just annoys me to no end. So yeah, I had to try and remember this one because it was just so bland. It just went out of my mind on why I didn't really necessarily enjoy it. I find that highly annoying in books. It's like if somebody just would have set her down for 5 minutes, you know, and said blah, 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 blah. Like, okay. But then I guess there wouldn't have been a plot and there wouldn't have been anything to write about. So I don't know. It sounds like I'm really bashing on this book. I know a lot of people really enjoy V.E. Schwab, and just because I didn't enjoy it doesn't mean it's not worthwhile to read. It's just not my thing. It's slow-paced, lyrical writing, atmospheric, gothic. There's a little bit of a mystery. There's some magic to it. The orphan aspect, that, you know, finding her family, and the whole light versus dark, all of that's in here. It's just, no, not for me. So, yeah, there's that one. I don't, yeah, it just. All right, so that was my 4 YA fantasy books. Some really good reads. And who knows, maybe one day I'll reread Gallant and have a different opinion. Maybe that's the key. Maybe I need to go back and give those another chance, because I also didn't like Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I found her annoying. So I'm just thinking maybe she's not for me. If y'all have read any of these, have any different opinions on them, please let me know down in the comments. And until next time, I'll say bye now.